Hi guys, welcome back. So, topic for today is pain psychology. Now, I've posted in the past on here, you may have seen. If you haven't, go to my channel and take a look. I've posted about chronic pain and sort of talked about pain cycles and sort of the sort of neural pathways and how they affect your perception of pain. So I'm going to talk a little bit more today about how sort of those people are psychosomatic pain, basically, which again I've also posted on previously. Hippocrates, a famous quote from Hippocrates was, "It's more important to know what sort of person has a disease than to know what sort of disease a person has." And actually, in a lot of cases, that is quite true. And certainly as a massage therapist, as part of the consultation, when a client comes in, with pain or an injury or, high levels of tension, part of the process is to sort of work out what their lifestyle is like and and sometimes sort of personal experiences, that may be affecting their stress levels, which then, make you more susceptible to injury or disease. So, it's quite a common belief that pain has to be caused by, some kind of physiological dysfunction. But actually, for probably up to around 40% of people, pain is psychosomatic. And, as I've said before, this doesn't mean that the person is imagining the pain, or that it's all in their head. It's just that there might not be that obvious physical cause for their pain. And when we talk about this, we're talking about those people, who, kind of constantly are having issues, but, the medication doesn't work, or they'll have tests and they're not, they're all coming back clear. They're not showing any problem. And they end up sort of going round and round in circles, getting more frustrated because they're still in pain. And they'll have numerous referrals to various professionals, and the professionals can't find a problem. And there just doesn't seem to be, an explanation for the pain. Now, progression of disease, or injury, that causes some sort of tissue damage may not be the cause of pain. The correlation between pain and disease progression, or the extent of an injury, is based on the view that the nerves will transmit pain signals to the brain. But this actually can be, a common misconception. Now, examples of where this correlation between tissue damage and pain, examples of where this is shown to be untrue, could be seen, for example, in someone with IBS, irritable bowel, or fibromyalgia. In these cases, people certainly have quite substantial pain, but there's no sign of tissue damage. Or maybe if we think about amputees, which again I've posted on previously, when amputees have phantom limb pain, there's not even pain receptors there because that part of the limb isn't there. So there's not really a physiological, reason for the pain. So if I think about maybe some of my clients who, regular gym goers, pain can be a protective mechanism against injury, warning them not to push themselves any harder. Now, our sensory nerves feed the brain with information about tissue damage, about inflammation, temperature, all sorts of things. And they feed the brain this information via sensory neurons, which are called nociceptors, which detect danger and which may be tied also into our memories. So, if you, say, burn yourself badly, on the stove or something, you're then going to have that memory, and you'll sort of like remember it for next time. You'll remember to be careful. So this means that we anticipate pain before it happens. We sense that danger. So, for example, in clients with PTSD, certain triggers will stimulate the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system, of course, is responsible for that fight or flight mechanism. It's the dominant nervous system, when that stress and anxiety kicks in. So, chronic pain, if this is true, then chronic pain can be a sign of danger, a warning sign to us. But then how can that be true? Because every person, say, that suffers from fibromyalgia isn't constantly at risk of injury. However, we often repress emotions that we feel unable to deal with. This is commonly the case, again, with trauma and PTSD. Quite often it can be the case with fibromyalgia. But this repressing of emotions, it doesn't have to be something traumatic. It can also be true of any strong emotions, so maybe related to grief or anxiety through some sort of big life change. And the unconscious brain is unable to differentiate, between a physical danger, risk of physical injury, and between a psychological danger. So, therefore, chronic pain feeds off fear. This is why so many people with PTSD also suffer with chronic pain. And I've also previously posted about the link between PTSD and chronic pain. So go to my channel and take a look at that. Emotions from the initial trauma have been buried, but the nociceptors, those sensory neurons, still sense danger. Because remember, we keep these things in our memories. Now, fear of that initial pain can trigger something in the unconscious part of our brain, which will often cause us to then have fear that sometimes we can't even explain because we've buried those emotions so deep, so we don't make that connection. This fear can then show itself as physical pain when there is no biological, sign of disease or injury. There's no physiological reason for that pain. When people then start to worry about what is causing the pain and how long will this pain last, this exacerbates the fear, and hence the pain cycle begins. The sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for that fight or flight, and it's where you get release of all your stress hormones like your cortisol and adrenaline. That takes over. And as I say, that induces this fight or flight response. Now, when the body is in this state for a long period of time, such as with PTSD, it will bring about central sensitization of the nervous system, meaning that all of the neural pathways will start to work overtime. This will overstimulate the brain, which then incorrectly interprets all those sensory signals. So normal sensory signals will then be perceived as a threat, and your body will then respond to that threat. Now, by undertaking regular exercise, deep breathing, having regular massage treatments, it's possible to replace that sympathetic nervous system dominance with the parasympathetic, which means that that fight or flight response, the release of all those stress hormones, will be replaced with a much calmer, sort of state. The nervous system will be rebalanced. Those, stress hormones, the cortisol and the adrenaline, will be inhibited, and all those feel-good, endorphins will be released, helping to reduce not only anxiety, but basically helps to just reduce that overloading of the brain with sensory signals. So hopefully I have not confused you all, and hopefully I've just kind of explained a little bit about how, if you are someone who is having a lot of pain and there's no explanation for it, and your doctors can't find an answer, do try something like massage or meditation as a way to deal with this, because it most likely is that there is, sort of an anxiety factor in there. And as I say, it doesn't have to be some big trauma. It can just be maybe, unresolved grief, or, unresolved feelings from maybe a really messy divorce, or, some other sort of big life change. That, sometimes people think they've dealt with, a lot of emotions, and they haven't. They've just kind of buried it and moved on, and eventually these things do kind of catch up with us. So so massage can certainly help, but any questions, feel free to contact me. You can also contact me through Instagram or Facebook. I'm on there as the Medical Massage Lady. There will be a website coming soon, but it's not quite up and running yet, but keep your eye out for that. And as I say, there are other posts already up on here about chronic pain, about PTSD, fibromyalgia, and psychosomatic pain. So do take a look at those, subscribe to my channel, that's really it from me today. So take care, and I will see you next time. Bye.